Hey there. Before you are about to dive into one of the episodes from our maternal mental health series, make sure that you have subscribed to our podcast on Spotify, the podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like this episode, we would appreciate if you spread the word and recommend or even forward this episode or the whole podcast in general to another parent or to anyone who you think should be listening to this. If you find yourself asking, how can you support us? The easiest way to do this is to give us a follow on Instagram at Damn Parenting Podcast and to rate us with 5 stars on the platform that you're listening to this. We hope you know you're not alone on this parenting journey and you enjoy the following episode. Let's get started.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Damn Parenting, your English-speaking parenting podcast from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. As always, we are your hosts, Eva and
Maren.
We are continuing our maternal mental health series, and today we are delighted to be able to welcome Angela Fusaro from Every Mother Knows. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Today's episode, we'll be discussing maternal rights, hopefully, and how to empower and provide confidence to moms who are returning back to work after the maternity leave. And Angela is someone who probably is the best person to kind of ask about this, as Every Mother Knows is about connecting mothers to jobs and career opportunities at the diverse and flexible and family-friendly workplaces. She is able to identify certain companies who are extremely family-friendly, which is a very helpful way. So she'll be a great person to reach out to after this episode if you want to find out more, if you're looking for a new job, or if you actually just want to make sure that your company may be in alignment with what should be actually helping mothers and fathers equally. So I think first off, I kind of want to ask a heavy hitting question is actually about the legal protections and rights in place for moms returning to work after the maternity leave. Can you let us know what is the earliest a mother is expected to return to work after having a baby?
The maternity leave in the Netherlands is up to 16 weeks, and that covers both the birth leave as well as the pregnancy leave. Usually women take between 4 and 6 weeks before giving birth, so they have time to slow down and to prepare also for this new phase in their life. And the remaining weeks, either 10 or indeed a bit more, like 12, if they took a shorter break before giving birth, before labor. Yeah, so that's the legal right, and it's the minimum that is, of course, in line with the legislation, with the legal framework here in the Netherlands, and it is a must for every employer, every company registered and based here in the Netherlands to provide that leave scheme to all of their employees. I have to say that, of course, after this leave and during also this leave, moms, employees still have their right to, of course, keep their job, also to not be dismissed, to continue also and to be reintegrated after the maternity leave in the same capacity, in the same role. So there is, of course, a lot of protection also following the actual leave for those women, for those moms, to be able to re-enter the company, the organization in that role, so to have their role secured and ready for them also once they return to work.
And is there any difference, because a lot of people in our community are on temporary contracts? Is there any big difference between having a temporary contract or an indefinite contract for these legal protection phases?
Yeah, this is a good question. Of course, a temporary contract has, unfortunately, a due date, which means that, at some point, the contract might also not be extended. And the fact of being pregnant or having had a child recently does not mean that the company will have to extend necessarily that contract. So, unfortunately, if there is a due date in terms of contract due date, that one will still apply also in the case of new moms or pregnant employees. The fact that an employee has become a mother doesn't mean that the company will have to extend necessarily a contract necessarily because of that reason. Of course, extending a contract is always a business decision, and it will take into account different elements, also organizational wise. At the same time, we know that also the fact that an employee has become pregnant and has had a child should not be a reason why not to extend a temporary contract. So it is always good also when an employee, a woman, has the impression that a contract has not been extended because of getting pregnant or of being on leave, it is always good to just check your rights, and maybe if you need like an extra consultation also with a lawyer to see if there is anything that could have been done differently. But of course, companies are not by law, they are not due to extend the contract in that case if the contract had a due date.
Moving forward with moms returning to work, can you actually let us know what accommodations companies must offer for breastfeeding or pumping mothers, especially with designated spaces or storing facilities?
Yes, all the new moms who have children who are up to 9 months old have the right to express milk or to breastfeed also at the office. And employers are due to provide a comfortable, safe space for new moms to be able to either breastfeed the baby directly or to express milk at the office facilities. That also includes allowing the new mom also to take time off during working hours to be able to express milk or to breastfeed the baby. The time that is allowed by law to do this is 1/4 of the working hours per employee. So every employee has the right to use 1/4 of their working time to express milk or to breastfeed the baby. In terms of a facility, most offices here in the Netherlands have by law, they have set up a mother's room. That's how it's called. It's usually a place that needs to meet some minimum standards, needs to have, for example, a couch, needs to be in a place which is not also accessible to other people. So it has to be a private room where the new mom has also privacy to be able to express milk, and there should be also a fridge available to store the milk that has been expressed in that case.
So they cannot just put a sticker on a toilet stall, mother's room.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
You just said there up until 9 months. What about those of us who wish to continue breastfeeding or pumping beyond that?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is not regulated by law beyond 9 months. Yeah, there is no legal requirement for an employer to provide either that space or provide that time off to breastfeed or to pump. However, most employers, especially the employers we like to work with, and we also the ones that we educate and we inform, are flexible, of course, also for those moms also to use the mother's room beyond the 9 months, and also to give some flexibility in terms of using some of their working hours, working time for this activity. I think it's always good to have this open conversation with your manager if you are a new mom and you wish to breastfeed beyond the 9 months, to see indeed what is possible. And if they're okay with it, we know that nowadays the way we work is more based on objectives, on goals. Therefore, it's not really about watching the clock all the time. Having that flexibility also with your manager, with the team, maybe also to recover that time later on during the day will hopefully make it possible to continue breastfeeding or expressing milk also beyond the 9 months time frame.
So speaking with our HR or our managers, how can we inquire about the policies in place regarding flexible work arrangements? So, for example, mothers who want to extend their maternity leave, parents who might want to reduce their hours, mothers who want to go from 40 to 32 or 32 to 24, or even the opportunity to work remotely. Who should we be approaching and when should we be approaching?
Yeah, it's a very good question. My recommendation is always to speak to your manager first, and also depending, of course, on the feedback that you get. And next to that conversation, of course, with your manager, always to also have a chat with HR. Sometimes some managers might have the best intentions in the world, but they don't have really all the info that HR has available. And they might not know also the specifics of Dutch labor law and what is possible also on a legal basis. So it's good to engage with both. Well, every new parent in the Netherlands, every parent who has a child, and that includes women and men, of course, every parent who has a child who is aged 8 years or below has the right to also take extended leave, which is called in Dutch ouderschapsverlof, parental leave in English. And that is equivalent to 26 times the number of working hours per week. And that counts for every child. So if you have 2 children, then you get 26 times the number of hours per week of parental leave for every child that you have. And even if you have twins, it still counts for each of them.
Sorry, my face just pulled a shocked face there.
Yeah. I was like trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, oh,
That's
wow.
what I'm
Okay.
also. So it's basically if you work 40 hours a week, you're saying it's 26 times 40 hours is what you can take in an 8 or 9. It's 9 years. It's the age of 8. So technically up to the age of 9 then.
Until the age of 8. So you can't make use of it. Yeah, once your child turns 8, then it's not available any longer.
And when you take this is not paid.
Most of the companies have some, I would say it really depends. Some companies have some extra, they have offered some extra benefits for that. So it is paid at 70% of the gross salary. In some other cases, it is unpaid. So it depends on the company, but by law, it doesn't have to be paid. So it could be indeed unpaid, and you can decide together with your employer, with your company, on how you want to schedule it during the week. What we see a lot here in the Netherlands is that most parents take it as a day off per week. So they work 32 hours instead of 40. It means that they can still keep their contract hours at 40. So their employment contract does not get changed at all. But by making use of this benefit, they will effectively work only 32 hours per week.
Okay. But equally, you could also, if need be, take 26 weeks in total.
Exactly. Some parents also decide to make the maternity leave, which is some moms, for example, are not happy to return to work when the child is only 3.5 months old. And they like to indeed extend that period by making use also of that extra leave. And sometimes it's possible to take it in a joint way after your maternity leave, and to have extra time to bond and to take care of your child. Indeed, it is very important to always discuss your request for parental leave. I'll discuss the law at least 2 months, to make a request for it at least 2 months prior to the start date that you would like for your parental leave to be initiated. Your manager, your company are obliged to authorize this leave because it is legally your right. What they can object, what they can challenge is the distribution of that leave. So how you want to distribute it, and the schedule that you want to adopt by using that leave. So it is very important to come to an agreement in terms of how that leave will be distributed and how your working schedule will then look like once you have taken that leave. Because the company has still a saying into that, and they also need to make sure that that type of new schedule fits also with the business goals and priorities. So that's the only thing that they can object, basically. One more point, which is very important to mention, is that in the past, only employees who had worked already for some time at a company were allowed to request that leave, and now this is available to all employees, also to new hires. So even if you're new at a company, if this is your first job, also returning to work after a baby or a new position, a new role, you can still make use of that scheme and you can still request it.
So speaking of all these companies, how can we actually ensure that the company we are working in or a company we are looking at is basically one which fosters supportive and inclusive work environments, especially for moms who are going to be returning to work, who will be looking for opportunities for career advancement or professional development, whilst we are trying to balance that tedious little tiny balancing line that we have for our family responsibilities?
As I say to my clients as well, especially the ones who are returning to work after a break, who are also maybe exploring a new employer, a new company, or are looking to join a new company, check whether that new company, for example, has any employees resources groups for parents, for new moms. That really says a lot in terms of workplace experience that they can also offer to working parents, employees who have also children. Also check what they offer in terms of additional parental leave. For example, if they have also the 70% paid parental leave as an extra to complement also what is allowed by the minimum legal framework here in the Netherlands. And just ask questions maybe about, how flexible are you with your team, for example, if you're talking to a manager? For example, do people work from home here? Do you have a hybrid work experience that you provide? So ask really open questions to see also, what they can come back with when you're exploring a new company. It is not only indeed that they are choosing you and that they are assessing you, but you could also really be on the driving seat there and make sure that the company is right for you. So ask them also questions during the interview.
I think a very important question to ask is that if you see that a company only meets the minimum legal requirements, that first of all, this is a red flag because they're not doing anything extra. They're only doing stuff that they have to do because it's the law. I would ask them, oh, is there a reason you're doing the bare minimum? Maybe I wouldn't ask that aggressively, but is there a reason there is no extension parental leave in your company? Is there a reason there's not all of these things that other companies have? So if someone sees they're meeting the bare minimum, there should be a question to be asked, why is it? And I mean, the answer could be, we're still growing. This is what we're working on right now. This is like, and then I can still decide, all right, I want to be in this grassroots movement of this company. I want to help them grow up, and then I can have the benefits later. But I guess it's always a good question. And why do you decide not to do more?
Absolutely. There might be indeed many reasons why they can't provide anything minimally acceptable. But indeed, at the end, it's always also our choice. And I think it's also good to see who else is in the team. If you see other interviewers, maybe you are in the team, also mention that they have kids and they work from home. That already gives you, for example, an indication of the type of culture that you might find in that organization. So also use those as insights to know a bit more about the company that you're going to join. I think for moms who are returning to their job, to their position after parental leave, who are staying within the same company, it's good really also to prepare and to make sure that there is a conversation that goes on before, during, and after maternity leave. Ask questions to your manager. Also really take the time to see what you need as a new mom, what you need to be supported also in relation with your career goals and work-life balance needs. So make sure that you have that conversation. Every mother knows we also provide maternity coaching to support those new moms who are returning to their role after having had a baby. In many cases, we have also companies sponsoring this coaching because it is a way for them to really invest in their employees and to support their new moms. So make sure that there is some support and there is some, open conversation that goes on to be able to have a positive experience.
One final question I have for you is about how mothers can actually go back into work with confidence, because they'll be leaving their child possibly for the first time, back into daycare or whatever it be. It's a major moment for a mom to have to put back on the work clothes and to head back into the office and to come in now with a brand new identity as well. Can you give us any tips for moms to be able to take into consideration before they don on that work outfit and hop on their bike and cycle into the office?
We know by research that unfortunately motherhood can also bring quite some insecurities in women. So lack of confidence as a new mom is very normal, unfortunately. I think knowing that you're not alone, and this is also something very common to many other women as they go through that transition. Hopefully that also helps to really normalize your new stage, this new phase in your life. Stay connected to your team, to your colleagues, to people who value you, to people that really are there also for you, to support you. Remember what you have done in your careers, all the milestones that you have already achieved. And I mean, giving birth, going through labor is a huge, huge achievement. And whatever, that experience looked like, I know for some of us it could have been also a bit traumatic, but you did it, you made it. You have a beautiful child, you have given birth to a new life. And with that awareness, I hope that as a new mom, you can really face any new challenges and anything new that is coming your way with confidence. Don't forget to ask for support, because it's a very delicate, it's a very sensitive phase. So there are a lot of professionals who are there who can help you. And I know that, really it can be quite expensive to raise a child and to also really enter this new phase of your life. But I think this is parenting, especially early parenting, and the first months as a new mom are so intense that getting the as much support as possible is really needed. So yeah, make sure that there is a village around you to support you. And I know that a lot of international moms, expat moms here, don't have that natural village by default because they don't have a lot of contacts here. So unfortunately, in that case, it's possible that you need to pay for some services or that you need to really build that village from scratch, but it's totally worth it. So go for it.
One thing that I also wanted to add there is that I noticed returning back to paid work after being out for a little while is that I asked myself, what do I want out of this time that I'm at work? For me, it has shifted, especially also with the interpersonal relationships at work, where in the past I was always very engaged in the whole social life, in the company and all the chit chatter and all that and all the different relationships. But now that I have so much drama with my toddler in my personal life, I value that I'm in a professional environment where I don't need to hear everyone's drama. So I had to reassess this and my boundaries towards certain conversations and certain situations where I said, no, I need this professional environment where I can go to work and this is what I want out of my work time, other than just the money I got and the tasks I have to do, but what on a personal level do I want to get out of this work environment? And that might have shifted, and that has helped me a lot to identify and then really step more into the role and get that feed out of this time at work where I get out refreshed in some ways because I could fill my cup with these other situations or with the things that I was looking forward going back to the office. It can also be that I really want to engage in all that office drama because, oh God, I'm back. Finally, I have adult drama conversations again. That could also be the case. But so that was one thing that when I entered back into the paid work area, said, what do I want personally out of this role? And how can I make sure that I'm setting up the right boundaries, but also see the possibilities to fill up my cup within that role?
Yeah, so important. I think that when we go back to work as mothers, then we can be really more selective, and we know that our time and energy is limited. We have a lot to juggle, of course. Then we really know what is important to us, and we are much more focused and selective and driven also for the choices that are right, that are important for us. And much more productive as well, because especially when we work part-time, we can really squeeze us, and do as much as we can do and deliver in those hours, because often we don't have time to kind of be bothered by things which are not important enough. So I think motherhood also really teaches us a lot of new skills in that regard. I think it's important to accept that some of our priorities might change due to motherhood, due to becoming a mom, and that's okay. So that might have also an impact on our next future work choices and career choices. So having that also open kind of attitude and mindset to accept potential changes will help us also navigate this new phase.
With that, we're going to say thank you so much, Angela, for joining us. You'll be able to find details of Angela Fusaro and Every Mother Knows in our show notes. She is one of the leading people here in Amsterdam and the Netherlands who is really focused on moms, not just getting back to work, but also working with companies to make them the family-friendly places they should be in the 21st century. So we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.